It's hard to believe that we're on our sixth installment of High Dawn with just two more to go. Uh, I am really excited uh, about this one, and I'm glad that you all could make it. I want to thank Lindsay Choi and Leo Dunsker at UC Berkeley Poetry Colloquium for helping organize this and many of the other readings in the series, and for helping support the series in general. Small Press Traffic is based in the Bay Area on the unceded land of the Ohlone people. In San Francisco, the Ramaytush people of Yelamu, and in the East Bay, the Chochenyo people of Huichin. We acknowledge those who have stewarded this land for thousands of years through systemic violence and forced displacement, who continue to resist and protect their traditions today. As settlers on this land, we make acknowledgments as the first step in a longer process of rematriation and healing. In an effort to improve our accessibility, we now have live closed captioning available at all of our remaining events, thanks to the help of Durham-based poet Joshua Salzberg. You can click on the closed caption button below to break out the subtitles to the side or view them at the bottom of your screen, or to turn them off if desired. And so we are going to start with Stephon Lawrence will read. Angie will introduce the readers. And so I will invite Angie up in a moment to introduce Stephon, and then we'll watch a pre-recorded performance that Sharmi made for this event. And then Angie will introduce Muriel, and then we will close after Muriel's reading. So thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you to all the readers and performers. And thank you, Angie, for accepting the invitation to introduce these great poets. And now I will turn things over to you.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you all for being here this evening, and thank you to Small Press Traffic and the UC Berkeley Poetry Colloquium for inviting me to do this. It's my pleasure to introduce Stephon Lawrence. This introduction draws primarily from Stephon's first book, one of Future Poems 2020 Open Call selections, titled You Know How Much I Hate Being Alone in Social Situations. I've been thinking about the holograms Stephon summons in this book, holograms of herself with herself, herself alongside others more viscous and real. This is a collection dislocated in a cyberspace time continuum, where bodies are imperceptible, yet viscerally contingent upon each other. Quote, I'm following your ghost trail into the cold electric airspace, onto a new wave. These gooey subjects drip bionically over the text. Quote, everything here is made of ectoplasm. These ontological reckonings, identity's mirage, blurs lovely, corporeality's curse. I've been fixated on the way many of these poems have by Shinji Ikari's Tears, written as their subtitle, named after the protagonist in the beloved anime Neon Genesis Evangelion, a co-authorship that evokes the anxieties of destiny. I read these tears as sublime moments of rupture and unbecoming, which liberate Shinji and maybe Stephon too, from crystal cages beyond their own making, operating the EVA Unit 01 or the cruel vulnerability of a party, somewhere within this long struggle to, quote, be taken seriously, be taken softly. The final thing I will note is the optical experience of reading this text, especially in its heavy use of the backslash, an article of punctuation that divides as much as it coalesces a whole. Slashes interspliced with HTML, then dispersed across the page, transmuted textualities which resist my poetic treatment, quote, gone with the discourse ceases to exist, and let's wax weird, fuck poetics. I hope that some of these hieroglyphs shine through when she reads to us tonight. Stephon Lawrence is a Brooklyn-based, born and based writer and artist. She is a graduate of the MFA in writing at Pratt Institute and is co-founder and an editor of The Felt, a journal of otherworldly poetics, interested in the creation and cultivation of emancipatory poetic spaces for felt sentiments that have been marginalized, displaced, or estranged from the dominant culture. Her first book, You Know How Much I Hate Being Alone in Social Situations, is forthcoming from Future Poem Books. Her work has been nominated for a Pushcart Prize and has appeared in Cosmonauts Avenue, Horseless Press, Queen Mob's Tea House, Glitter Mob, Fanzine, and other places. Her micro-chap Germs is available from Ghost City Press, and her chapbook Evil Twin is available from Resolving Host. She is a recipient of a summer workshop scholarship at the Fine Arts Work Center. Stephon spends her free time watching anime and K-dramas, training Muay Thai, yelling about white supremacy, and being cute for the gram. Her work aims to encapsulate all of this. She is almost always online. You can find her on Twitter and Instagram at AlphaHo. Please join me in welcoming her tonight.
Thank you, Angie. That was such a cool intro. Thank you, Small Press Traffic, for having me. Yeah, literally everything you said in your intro is anything that I could say right now. So I'm just gonna start reading. Heading 1. See you, Space Cowboy. I'm learning code, getting ready for our life on Mars, taking this shell on the intergalactic road, driving hovercrafts, big rig space engines hauling ass. I'm thinking about leaving this room. You haven't ghosted through. Input type equals email. Placeholder equals, are you ignoring them? I'm writing us a memoir. How many days this week can I wear the same pair of jeans before I care if anyone notices? I won't post as many selfies to extend time frames of wearability and visibility. Input type equals reply. Placeholder equals, we're still on the same wave, I'm sure. Spike Spiegel is covered in mud, running through apartment lobbies, shooting muddy bullets, smoking wet cigarettes. He finds a dog that isn't his and makes it his assistant. The dog's a cyborg. It spots Spike's fake eye. It quits to work in a trinket shop with an old woman. Bounty hunting just wasn't for him. Lucky for him, jobs on Mars are not hard to come by. I know you didn't do shit last summer. I'm lying on my couch, sticking to it, molding into it, leather on leather, tapping at my iPad, staring at my TV, listening to. I'm trying to create a commentary here about the same white actors being used for everything during their hot periods and well beyond them. I'm taking a break from marathoning Buffy. I'm on the most depressing season, season 5, just past the episode where her mother dies. Sorry, spoiler. Now I'm watching this other movie Buffy Sarah is in with Freddie Prinze Jr. It's not She's All That. Ryan Felipe married and divorced Reese Witherspoon. Was she in Cruel Intentions too? Hold on, let me check. Jennifer Love Hewitt. I think she's my favorite of these people, or is that Eliza Dushku? I still have Bring It On DVD. But being honest, Gabby Union was the best part in that movie and just continues to be the best. They're all in this cast, all in other casts together, and in other hot teen summer movies. Cruel Intentions and that other one with J-Love. What was it called? I can't even remember enough about it to type it into Google. Ryan Felipe gets hit by a car in I Know What You Did Last Summer and in Cruel Intentions. Yet, you feel for him more in Cruel Intentions, even though he's a scumbag in both movies. But at least in IKWYDLS, he isn't trying to fuck his stepsister. Not Buffy, but Catherine. a brunette Sarah Michelle. So wait, why do I feel bad for him more in that movie? Maybe it was Reese I feel for. Turns out she was in that movie. I'm questioning this odd sympathy for white male leads, even when the character is all around trash. I forget what I Know What You Did Last Summer is rated because the slasher gore feels really tame. Just checked, it's rated R. Is that for nudity? Is there nudity? Must be cursing at the very least. More than one uttered fuck. So, these same four or so, it's very difficult to keep account. White teens, young adults, they're all in their 20s actually, play interchangeable characters, Buffy being the most memorable for me and my friends who watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In these movies, that get labeled iconic, and I would be lying if I didn't acquiesce to the fact that at least a couple of these truly are. Also, Sarah Michelle married Freddie Prinze. How about that? They have kids and everything, and they never got divorced, not even once for a little bit. I don't think I have a point or a poem or a real analysis here. Actually, I don't like this movie enough to have any of those. As you can see, I barely talked about IKWYDLS even as I'm watching it. But I think I'm into writing about movies, however loosely. I just Googled, is Brandy in I Know What You Did Last Summer? Google let me know. She's in the sequel. I still know what you did last summer. Shouldn't it be last summer? I would rather watch that or Moesha, honestly, not doing much else anyway. Thank you. A voicemail unsent. I'm thinking of forgetting, considering forgetfulness. You're not the kind who forgets. It seems I only miss you when I'm ovulating, according to this period app, or when I'm at a shitty party and want to leave. And I start to wish you still traveled with me, little ghost, in the traditional possession kind of way, and the way you'd show up behind me when I least expected it and I needed it most. I love the way you hover above me, your ghost neck bent low. You wanted me to hear you whisper, because you're the kind of ghost that doesn't yell. The way you lead me out of shitty rooms at shitty parties into slightly better rooms at the same shitty parties is a skill I wish rubbed off on me. I was going to say, I wish you rubbed off on me, but I realize how gross that sounds. I can be so gross sometimes. Viscous boyfriend. My favorite fruits are the ones with inedible exteriors, hard skins you have to cut away, thick skins you can't chew. Someone tell that joke about vegans eating orange peels, quick, before you miss this moment of pure comedic timing, before someone else quips about the smell of durian, before someone Googles sugar apple. I tried to write something about my beating heart, but I'm looking for another way in to myself, thick, skinned, rotting fruit, sitting in a metal bowl facing the sun. Soon, the heart will give in to the rot, won't taste as sweet, will smell the wrong kind of sour. Mind on my body, body on my mind. I front kick a meathead off the mat while sparring Muay Thai, so after class he tells me I'm too fat to do jujitsu. The gym puts him on probation. I laugh with the coach who let me get away with the kick. I think about how much longer this will continue to happen. I get home and eat a banana. I remember being 9, young, but not small. My mother stops pinching my cheeks. She doesn't want to encourage me. I learn what it means to be a container, a large space that has to fill with something. Why won't you eat more greens? Okay, this is the beginning. A thorough crushing. 매일 죽이는 기분을 느낄 것 같아. I play tennis and volleyball, run track and swim. I think I'm having fun. My mother has her fingers crossed. My GP gives a yearly physical so I can go to summer camp. My blood work is hella clean. 별처럼 반짝반짝한 비치는 피가 in top health, but have I thought about diet and exercise? I leave the office and wonder if I'm dying or diabetic or both. Please remember, I am 9, 10, 11, 12, 19. Will I have to prick my finger? 할머니가 했던 거를 나도 해야 할 거야? I test the sensation with a safety pin and kind of enjoy it. Really, the only threat of death here is the one by my own hand. 내 마음대로 할래? Luckily, I will become passive in this desire, as I am passive in most desires. I will sit and wait for an end to come and open my arms wide to it. In the back of my mind, I will hope the sag of my upper arms isn't too noticeable in this position. I am a house with weak foundation. It's in our family's blood, after all. 제일 큰 실패를 of heart and mind and will and circumstance. Take care of your blood. Stop eating processed sugar. Do you want to fucking die? Low key. Yeah, kinda. Like every now and then. Picture it. A Caribbean congregation of adults, a group of my caretakers trying to stunt my growth, but only laterally. I am the shortest and whitest in my family, inexplicably still here. How wild, huh? It's too late to not internalize TBH. Sorry, baby, this is the thing I carry in all my bags. The track team Colgate backpack, the varsity volleyball duffel, the mark by mark leather purse. It's the crumbs and crud stuck at the bottom. I don't know how to clean that shit up and it won't shake out, so. On my 21st birthday, I'm gently escorted off every roller coaster I try to ride. The seatbelt can't be secured, the harness won't click. I think about the power in my inability to be contained. I cry in a Six Flags bathroom. I miss the thrill of being thrown upside down. I pretend not to be bothered in front of my family. I know there are other ways to feel a rush, other ways to move and be moved. Just because I'm pretending I don't have a body doesn't mean I don't have a body. A turn is taken. I'm engaging my lats and twisting from my core for an effective punch without hurting my shoulder. I figure out what quads are. I roundhouse kick to the body. I open up my hips and get tall on my left foot so my right can reach the head. Sorry about any background noise. Neutral evil. I wear tight black jeans in the summer, stick my legs in the light to feel the burning. Somehow I'm not over feeling pain. Somehow I've turned it pleasurable. I want to smoke 24 cigarettes at once. I want to stop being bored. I want to choke. I want to stop wondering if I'm bored or just tired or tired because I'm bored. I wish no one ever asked me to turn up. I'm too busy trying to remember my zodiac alignments. Someone said I want to choke too. I'm the single silver hoop. I had a dream where I wrote this down. I'm dreaming about platinum earrings, but also I'm in the AACC 2355 subway station. I can't remember where I'm going, probably to work. Do I go anywhere else these days? I'm following a friend who's going somewhere else, but taking a similar route. I'm happy to travel together because I miss her dearly. Now we can commiserate about how much we hate going to work. I hate my outfit. It was better in theory than in practice. I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt. I don't know why. The colors are a mix of neon SpongeBob yellow green and Patrick purple pink. Why did I put this on my body? I'm wearing flared jeans and Adidas Sambas. I notice that outfit in a reflective pillar, and the shoes are the first thing I hate. I feel eyes on my back and I curse being corporeal. Someone, irate, yells at me about praxis. I still don't really know where I'm going, but decide to hop on the CC with my friend who's going somewhere else. There's a 4444 waiting in the station, and a white woman complains loudly, like it isn't 6 a.m. Like any of this really even matters. Like she's the only one inconvenienced, and I'm over it, honestly. I wake up in the dream and write this down. I'm awake and about to get ready for my day, but I'm not. Someone handsome appears beside me. His earring catches the light, and then he disappears, and this doesn't seem out of the norm. I wonder if he'll buy me a coffee later. I'm already practicing my order. One large iced Americano with an extra shot, please. I could really use the boost. Thanks so much. I wake up for real now and remind myself to write it down. I do on the way to the queue. I'm unsure about my outfit, but feel more comfortable in it than I did in the one from my dream. My hair doesn't look the way I want, but that happens sometimes. I remember where I'm going to work. I still hate it. I remember to write this down. I remember to edit it later. I forgot to put on my earrings. Okay, last one. As per my last email, this seems a bit too dramatic, a bit too fucking much. The cruelty of a hive erupting in a belly button, on a nipple, beneath an eyelid, places too tender to scratch some relief into. I'm so often on the verge of tears. Won't you tear through me, please, so I might finally know what the fuck is going on? Starving for food, for a sweet kiss, to be held, to be taken seriously, to be taken softly. For my island, ravaged by hurricanes, but still here, for the most part. For a place with a place for swaying, the palms I knew when I was 2 and daydream of at 27. I might pass out from the hunger, nauseous from the emptiness. My twisting gut, I felt this for so long. I'm starting to think I deserve it. I'm exclusively on CP time or depression time. Are the two all that different from each other, all things considered? Running on, I don't want to be here time, generally. So please, schedule accordingly. Thank you.
Woo!
So good. Thank you. Thanks, Stephon. Great reading. Now for some tunes. Sharmi Basu is an Oakland-born and based South Asian woman of color creating experimental music as a means of decolonizing musical language. They attempt to catalyze a political yet ethereal aesthetic by combining their anti-colonial and anti-imperialist politics with a commitment to spirituality within the arts. Beast Nest, Sharmi's primary performing project, utilizes multi-dimensional soundscapes to transmute trauma and suffering into moments of deep presence. They are an MFA graduate from the Center for Contemporary Music at Mills College in electronic music and recording media. They're on the board of directors for Safer DIY Spaces and Soundwave SF. They're also a certified mediator, and much of their multimedia work centers on familial healing, transformative justice, accountability, and the investigation of interpersonal harm. As far as I know, Sharmi, you also have a new album forthcoming in May from Ratskin Records. Is that correct? I think so. And Ratskin Records is a collective record label in Oakland that I think Sharmi is also involved in. Highly recommend checking it out. And so, yeah, I'm so excited that they're here. Um, I'm going to start the pre-recorded performance that was done just for us. So give me just a quick sec to cue it up and we'll go.
So it is my honor now to introduce my friend and comrade, Muriel Leung. I've been so grateful to spend time with Muriel's new book, winner of the 2020 Nightboat Poetry Prize, set to be published in May of this year, titled Imagine Us the Swarm. So I've written this introduction following a conversation I had with my creative writing students after I taught the book last week to them. And it's a conversation where we traced the book's movement from holes to holiness and what transitory mirages live between them. So I will begin with this line by Muriel. I set out to write a book about, but it was about instead. After he died was all that was left. All over this text, speech is perforated with its own amnesia, the poem as the living record of what percolates through. These fragments, nearly sapphic, form the membranes of memory, dissecting what, quote, an absence looks like when dispersed. I'm thinking of the way even the lush fruit inside of lotus leaves induces a fear of holes, the cell form as granular, cancerous, the mud of which we are made. It's in these subatomic particles that Muriel's precision shines most potently. How lucid the trace, quote, how luminous my non-speech, her absence as unspeakability's mirror. Avery Gordon writes that to strive to understand the conditions under which memory was produced is to move toward a counter-memory for the future. And while we reach for that counter-memory with fervor, still we stay invested in our own ruination. Still we are in defiance against total sublimation. Steeped in the poetics of exile and elegy, Muriel shows how sometimes to just transcribe a thing is to do it such a violence. A girl, quote, shimmering in a devastation that looked and felt like a human-sized hole. These cavernous layers, their symbiosis and intimacies, make the lyric I into an occupied territory, a territory so crowded until she becomes a hospitality. Treeman Ha writes, quote, all is empty when one is plural, yet how difficult it is to keep our mirrors clean. Muriel's assemblage of selves builds a subject in which all skin is grafted, every organ a transplant, every voice a chorus. Quote, a ghost is still a ghost even when it finds its everlasting body. And then holiness. In the tradition of Teresa Cha, the last poem in this 7-part constellation is a mythic plight, a retrograde into primitivity in search of a lost future, forcing us past cycles of longing toward a geological time. Quote, if only to go back to place the blame there, the plankton's wrath, the roach and the sea. Suppose that morning finds its telos. Muriel outlines the subversive potentiality of melancholia, not as a pathological condition, but as inscribing some losses as ungrievable that we must labor to keep alive. Muriel quotes Park Chan-wook's 2005 film, Lady Vengeance, which I feel succinctly captures the ethos of the text as a whole. I give you this flower because you have vengeance to take, comrade. Muriel Leung is the author of Imagine Us the Swarm, forthcoming from Nightboat Books and Bone Confetti, winner of the 2015 Noemi Press Book Award. A Pushcart Prize nominated writer, her writing can be found in The Baffler, Cream City Review, Gulf Coast, The Collagist, Fairy Tale Review, and others. She is the recipient of fellowships to Kundiman, VONA, Voices Workshop, and the Community of Writers. She is the editor-in-chief of Goldline Press and poetry co-editor of Apogee Journal. She also co-hosts the Blood Jet Writing Hour podcast with Rachelle, Cruz, and MT Vallarta. She is a member of Miresa Collective, a feminist speakers bureau. Currently, she is a Dornsife Fellow in Creative Writing and Literature at the University of Southern California. She's from Queens, New York. Please join me in welcoming her tonight.
Thank you so much, Angie. That was like such a very generous read, and like I love that you honored so many of the citations that are so important in the book to me, many of whom are women of color, and so thank you for that. I'm so moved. I love it so much. Thank God this is recorded so I can revisit this on my own time. And thank you so much to Small Past Traffic and for UCP's Poetry Colloquium for hosting this event. And thank you to Stephon and to Sharmi for their wonderful performances. I have a book coming out in May. It is called Imagine Us, the Swarm through Nightboat Books. And it looks like this. I'll post a link to pre-order site very soon. And in the meantime, I wanted to read a little bit from the book. And then I wanted to read a little bit of a new work that accompanies the video right after that. So this is a book that is comprised of different essays and verse. And this is one of them, which is called A Careful List of All My Failures. Every year, the same ritual of halving myself before each benevolent ghost. Gold flecked paper lit until its inevitable blossoming. Moth, angel, ash bead. I am reminded sometimes the floundering can be gentle while also singed. Here, my body tilts forward in an eternal rocking. There, I carried incense too far to the south of me. The wind blew the fire out. With such mournfulness, I was talking, and clumsily the talking became a fugue. I sang it down deep into my bones, cowed for you and you and you and you, and I was tall as a carousel bush, wanting always to please, but my badness seeks unfilial pleasure, discovered too early how to sift through my own self-loathing, but my body did not bow, it bent. My mother calls it a bettering, as in, do you think you're better than me? Because being bad has a texture like the rubbing together of two unlike stones. Its spark means plenitude. It has no exact translation. That I swallowed my words for 6 years until they were as rotten as me. So she planted a sword in herself, and I took the sword and stuck it down my grotto. In such variable tricks we survived for years. My bad made of dirt, glitter, and so much bloat. How American, this language of ascension, that I could spit back, I did not ask to be born, and mean it. Claire Jane Kim calls it the field of racial positions, the arrangement of different bodies along a dying field, vying for the one blade of fresh cut grass, as if none of us are fit for water. What the theory of racial triangulation tells us is the distribution of inequities rooted in white dominance, that I could look to you and feel that I am at once lesser and perhaps fortuitous for having earned that small morsel of God. To bend so far back my spine becomes another flag of assimilable colors. And I am not even legible to myself, cannot even English my way out. At my eradication, my first love wrote me a poem about my body, telling me what my body was when knuckle creased, how I knew it was a trap, but could not gather my flesh fast enough. Those were the heaviest days, when I was filled with so much rain and did not know what he meant when he said, "You are the prettiest, my pretty. Can you speak Japanese to me? Can you, pretty, please?" And I was so grateful to be even considered while dissolving beneath him that I shuddered away the alarm and said, "That's not me," but also, okay. Some days it is so quiet it feels like begging. One day smaller than a fingernail, another day the colossal fury of a rising tide. In a nation of proximity and degree, what is my likeness to a thumb? The brutal texture of my race beside another, the history of my particulars, only a fraction of a tower. How luminous my non speech, how my ghost becomes a hiss. The resistance lives in me, I know. Though, how? A history racing against the self knows only meaning through monument, the isolation of grief in a great alone. The way my therapist traced it, the trauma wheel in perpetuity moves and comes upon a wall, smacking against its bright white surface, often on an unsuspecting day, in succession, until it begins to feel like a drowning. On paper, the steely faces of my ancestors bear the mark of trying, as in the act of striving would do the body good. The bones buck up, refuse to lose. The white women who said, I'm jealous of your culture, you'll never run out of things to write about. The poorest matter of one's racial suffering. Such myths we prepare for ourselves. In a singular language, a cleansing, that absence can feel like relief. Still, to my mother, I describe how I wanted to live a good life of many candied gratitudes. I wanted to be bigger than a bruise. So much noise I patterned my breaking, but my queer self buckling against a frame is something other. When R folded the sheet over me, the city was quiet and borderless. I dreamed. Even locked within the room, I poured out of it. Leah Lakshmi Pyapsna Samarasinha asks, where is this place our baby bodies sprinted towards, even when we were holding still for as long as possible? In other words, what does it mean to be free? The sky of my love is full of tumult. That I know. In a dying field, pointing to my own body, I saw that it was mine, was always there, and it spoke when I spoke, a language of two hardened places. And there I lived, despite it all. So thank you for that. I will share a pre-order link to that book very soon. The last thing I wanted to share before we close out, thank you so much for listening to that, is new work that I've been working on after this book, and it is a collection of essays. I will post links here actually. So I'm working on a collection of essays, and one of these early essays was recently published in the Texas Review, all essay issue, which features some pretty amazing essayists, writers across genres. So please check it out. There's a link to the issue there. But I also turned it into a digital essay as well. And so I will actually just be playing the video portion of the essay today, and I'll be reading over it. And this digital essay is basically what I will elegantly describe as a fan video of queer Asian films made after 2000. So, I mean, I wish I could like elevate it and say that it's more than that, but it's pretty much just like Asian people making out for like a really long time. So I'm going to share my video. Do that. And if you want to see the original video, there's also a link that I shared as well. In nearly every creative writing class I have ever taken, the opening advice has always been this: write your obsessions. In other words, write from the place where you repeatedly return to, the most haunted caverns of your life. whatever feels perpetually swollen with noise. For how banal this instruction seems to be, it also appears to demand so much, its muchness where the writing is set to thrive. Obsession is an understatement. In my life, I have obsessed over things, people, logical spellings of the universe, objects without consequence, but which through inexplicable reasons still possess me. Questions someone asked once that punctured the air between us and which have left me forever appended. The ways in which a faulty love consumes me wholly, absolutely, and begs me to be obliterated. To be obsessed, I believe, is to abandon all of yourself just to be close. I had always known the bright intimacy of letters, which was a type of abandonment. Someone once said that when I wrote, I looked lost. I blushed at this image returned to myself, as if someone had seen the rush of blood and guts in me and described their textures and sounds aloud. I was 12 when I had my crush on the poet Jane, who came to our language arts classroom weekly to teach us about the difference between collaging and extended metaphors. She invited us to write to her long after her sessions ended with us. And so I found her website, which featured a forum for anyone to ask her anything they wanted. She would always post her response, exquisite letters that exploded the questions, made each inquiry feel like they had always intended to balloon out into their full majesty. I wrote her, "Dear Jane, what are teeth?" Another time, "Dear Jane, why are people so mean?" And once more, "Dear Jane, why does Hello Kitty not have a mouth?" Always she would respond, "Because animal, because hurt, because the accidental color red is another type of resistance." It was she who told me once that after having her heart broken, she dived off the lifeguard station in Coney Island onto a pile of glass. She sustained no physical injury, but the devastation of the heartbreak, that stayed. I thought that love felt ordinary to me. At 12, life felt unbearable. I was full of desire, but convinced that no one desired me. We often joke that being queer is often like living a second adolescence, the way we bear these aches and pains twofold, and always there are the letters. When Dee and I first met, we wrote each other constantly. 13 miles may mean nothing to some, but in Los Angeles geographical terms, we were essentially a long-distance relationship. When we would finally see each other, we would watch the sun set and rise from bed, touching, yes, but mostly the passage of time was fueled by my questions. Who were you when you were younger? What do you fear most in your life? What gives you hope? What do you have in plenty to give to others? I would ask the questions, then they would answer, the hours sliding past us, that we would forget to eat, delay going to the bathroom until our bladders became uncomfortably full, and sink ourselves deeper into the mattress. I forgot myself there. What comprises queer Asian American psychic life, I'm convinced, is a state of constant deferral of self until its total abandonment. Rarely do we speak of obsession in queer Asian American psychic life, how this wanting shapes our interior architecture. How appropriate that Raymond Williams calls this affective consciousness the structure of feeling, referring to the ways in which our understanding of history is never fully aligned with our emotional and psychic comprehension of what transpires in real time. Always, affect is about delay, of experiencing sensations after the fact. Of course, then, it is always building within us, and always it arrives too late. We are already rearranged. So that is it. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much again to everyone for coming on a Friday night. It was so wonderful to share space with you all. Thank you so much.